AMD's Q2 2025 is shaping up to be a wild ride. The chipmaker slashed its revenue expectations by a hefty $700 million, bracing for flat sales around $7.4 billion instead of growth. On top of that, new U.S. export rules are forcing AMD to swallow about $800 million in charges for unsellable inventory. Sounds grim, right? Yet amid these storm clouds, AMD is also gearing up for an epic AI expansion, including a $4.9 billion acquisition aimed squarely at Nvidia's throne. It's a classic tech drama, short-term hits and long-term bets, kind of like taking a punch now to win the championship later. In this video, we'll break it all down in a fun, digestible way, from the revenue downgrade and export control woes to AMD's grand plan in AI. Revenue expectations take a $700 million plunge. AMD stunned investors by downgrading its Q2 2025 revenue forecasts by $700 million. Initially, the company hoped for growth, but now it expects flat revenue of roughly $7.4 billion for the quarter. In plain English, flat means no growth, basically running in place when everyone hoped it would sprint ahead. For context, AMD had a fantastic Q1 2025 with $7.4 billion in sales, up 36% year-on-year, thanks to booming demand for server chips and AI accelerators. But Q2 is a different story. The momentum hit a speed bump. So, what's behind the $700 million shortfall? The culprit isn't a mysterious collapse in PC demand or a sudden love for Intel chips. It's largely about export regulations and some macroeconomic caution. AMD's CEO Dr. Lisa Su hinted that despite strong product demand, the company is navigating a dynamic macro and regulatory environment. Translation: the world economy is shaky, and governments, especially Uncle Sam, keep changing the rules on who can buy advanced chips. In fact, AMD estimates export controls will cut about $1.5 billion from its 2025 revenue in total. It's like running a race with a parachute on your back. No wonder Q2's forecast got trimmed. From an investor standpoint, seeing a flat $7.4 billion quarter after such a great Q1 is a bit of a bummer. AMD was on a 4-quarter streak of growth, and we all love a good streak. Think of it like your favorite team winning game after game, then suddenly settling for a tie, not a loss, but not the win everyone hoped for. The $700 million downgrade is essentially AMD saying, "Hold up, we're not losing ground, but we're not gaining this quarter either." The reasons are important, as we'll explore next, so keep your pitchforks down. It's not because AMD's products went bad overnight, but because external factors threw a wrench in the gears. Export controls, the $800 million elephant in the room. Here comes the plot twist. New U.S. export controls on high-end chips have arrived like an unwelcome guest at AMD's party. These regulations restrict selling advanced semiconductors, think AI and data center chips, to certain countries, notably China. AMD disclosed it expects around $800 million in charges in Q2 for inventory and reserves related to these new export controls. In human terms, that means AMD has a bunch of chips it planned to sell overseas, but now can't, so those chips are sitting idle, and AMD must write down their value. It's basically a giant "sorry, we can't sell this" expense thanks to government policy. Why such a big charge? Well, AMD, like its rival Nvidia, had developed special versions of its AI chips for the Chinese market to comply with earlier US rules. For example, AMD's MI300 series, powerful AI accelerators, had a variant dubbed MI308 tailored to meet previous export limits. But guess what? Rules tightened again, and even those toned-down chips can't be shipped. It's as if AMD built a custom sports car for a customer, only for the law to say, "Actually, that car can't leave the garage." The result: inventory that can't be sold, leading to that $800 million write-off. By the way, if you are benefiting from the content so far and want more like this, like the video, it means much to me. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications bell, and comment the word "more." Just go ahead and type the word "more" so I know. Now that you have commented, let's continue. The implications are twofold. First, financially, AMD takes a short-term hit, hence the lower Q2 outlook and reduced gross margins, a one-time gut punch to the balance sheet. In fact, with the inventory charge, AMD's gross margin for Q2 is estimated around 43%, but it would have been about 54% without this one-time item. So the core business is healthy. It's the regulatory punch-out that's hurting margins temporarily. Second, strategically, it reminds everyone how geopolitics can impact tech. Losing sales to China, or any restricted region, means losing market share there to someone else, possibly local Chinese chip makers eager to fill the void. It's like being benched for a quarter of the game. Your opponent might score in the meantime. Lisa Su and team have warned that export controls could cost $1.5 to $1.8 billion in lost sales for 2025. That's a sizable chunk of change, money AMD could have used to fund more R&D or pad earnings. For investors, this is the elephant in the room, a big external risk outside AMD's control. The company can lobby or adapt, but ultimately these rules are set by governments. On the upside, AMD is adapting by pivoting those products to other markets or future needs, but it's not an overnight fix. The key takeaway: export controls equals short-term pain. But AMD isn't alone. Nvidia faced similar issues. Recall how Nvidia's stock wobbled when their China sales were at risk. In a way, AMD taking an $800 million inventory charge is ripping the band-aid off now, clearing the decks for future quarters to, hopefully, shine without this overhang. It's a prudent, take the loss now and move on approach. Or as we might joke, AMD is paying its tuition in the school of geopolitics all at once. AMD's $4.9 billion shopping spree meets ZT Systems. Okay, enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about AMD's big power play in AI. In 2025, AMD went on a shopping spree and acquired ZT Systems for $4.9 billion. If you haven't heard of ZT Systems, don't worry. They're like the best supporting actor in the data center world. ZT is a leading provider of server and AI infrastructure for the world's largest cloud companies. In other words, they design and build the fancy servers and racks that power services at hyperscalers. Think companies like Microsoft Azure and AWS, which happen to be ZT customers. ZT has been doing this for decades behind the scenes, sort of like a pit crew building race cars for the big drivers. AMD's rationale for this acquisition is crystal clear: to bolster its AI data center capabilities and take on Nvidia's dominance. It's a bit like a football team recruiting a star quarterback because they're tired of losing to the rival team. Nvidia currently rules the AI hardware space, more on that later, but AMD is gearing up for a serious challenge. By buying ZT Systems, AMD gets rack-level expertise and an experienced team that knows how to put together entire AI computing systems. Instead of just selling chips and hoping others integrate them well, AMD can now offer a whole package solution, from the silicon to the server rack. This is a big deal for cloud customers who often prefer ready-to-deploy systems rather than assembling things piece by piece. What exactly does ZT do that's worth $4.9 billion? Think of ZT as the IKEA of cloud servers, but with custom furniture for each hyperscaler. They design servers tailor-made for each big client's needs, assemble them at scale, and even help deploy them in data centers. By having ZT in-house, AMD can fast-track the design and deployment of AI systems using its chips. Forrest Nord, head of AMD's data center unit, said the goal is to reduce the end-to-end design time of cluster-scale AI systems for customers, essentially delivering ready-to-go AI clusters faster than the competition. This basically could hit AMD to $370 soon. If we fully obey the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth, and carefully follow all his commandments, he has promised to set us high above all the nations of the earth. Deuteronomy 28. We shall be blessed when we come in and when we go out. I appeal to you to accept God and let him be your guide, for he will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Deuteronomy 31 verse 8. Want more information? Please check the description section. That's the end for now. If you have watched until the end, drop a comment like this: I stayed until the end. Just comment that I stayed until the end. When I see this comment, I will give you a heart. 3 more favors I request from you. First, like this video, subscribe, and then turn on the notifications bell. If you do this, you greatly encourage me to continue bringing to you insightful content. Do not miss out on our future videos full of insight. All I am asking is your subscription. Thanks for joining us today. Your support means so much to us. Do not hesitate to share this video to help someone who may benefit. I recommend that you watch the next video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts about today's video. Wish you God's blessings and care. Faith and prayer will do what no power on earth can accomplish. See you in the next video by God's mercy.